Hi, and welcome to CoverBrand, where we cover all things branding, marketing, and advertising to help you understand what the hell branding is and how it works to grow your business. Welcome and welcome back. I'm Ethan Jacker. Today, I have the great pleasure of having a former colleague and dear friend of mine, Josie Ellerbee, on the show. Hi, Josie.
Hi, Ethan. I'm excited to be here.
Where are you calling from today?
Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Why are you in Grand Rapids, Michigan?
Because it's where I'm from. I was born and raised here. My family's all here. So yeah, we met out in Colorado. Before that, I was in Oregon. Now I'm back
Yes.
here, home.
Nice. How long have you been back home?
2021. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was like the post-COVID, had a baby, needed to get back to the grandparents situation. Yeah.
Yes. I almost had that sitch, but instead I have the 50-year-old surviving COVID with 2 kids sitch.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Before we get into brands, let's talk bands. You had a great cover you wanted to mention.
Yes. So recently, Eddie Vedder had a song that he did for the Bear, Save It for Later. And it is a cover of the song was originally written by The Beat or the English Beat. And
Did
I
you know
just,
them as the Beat or the English Beat?
just The Beat. But then I
Oh,
found out it was the English Beat.
I knew them as the English Beat, and I don't know
Okay.
why.
Yeah. I don't know either. I don't know. Maybe
I
it's like
think
a Chicks thing, the Dixie
right,
Chicks.
or else they
Oh,
started in England as the Beat, because I know
yeah.
they're an English group, kind of new wave, somewhat ska, somewhat reggae-ish. I guess new wave. But then when they came to the US, there might have already been a band called The Beat. That's most likely the case.
Sure. Sure.
So English Beat. Anyway, Eddie Vedder, English Beat.
Yes. Yeah. So, Eddie Vedder, I'm just a huge Pearl Jam fan, Eddie Vedder fan. I've seen them like 4 or 5 times live. So I'm just
Nice.
like a big fan of his vibe and his just sound. And so the cover is definitely, it stays very true to its roots of the
Mhm.
original song. And I think he wanted to, I don't know, we talked about this before, like pay some homage to the original.
Right.
But just the stuff that he brings to it just by being himself and his voice and his artistry is just I really enjoy that cover.
It's a beautiful cover of a great, great classic song. So
Yeah.
I highly recommend the original, and I highly recommend this cover. And I forgot that it was made for the Bear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And yeah, great show as well.
Great show as well, but a beautiful cover. I also like how he has saxophone in there, which is a classic 80s thing, especially sax solo, but it's done in a more contemporary way. It's not like it's just pastiche.
Yes,
He's turned it into his own vibe, like you
for
said.
sure. And then the guitar super twangy and
Yeah.
yeah, just like a nice interesting mix of sounds and
Save it
it's
for later,
yeah, that's right. Save the listening of it for later as well.
and save it for later. Eddie Vedder's.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk branding. Let's cover some brand things now. Tell the folks who are listening a little bit about what you do and the challenge you're facing right now.
Yeah. So I am a brand strategist. I've been in strategy for over 15 years. Lots of experience with creative agencies, but consulting as well, and all sorts of different, business models related to that. And right now, of course, with the AI of it all, I'm just kind of grappling with a tension between either there's a group of clients that I feel like are very rigorous in their templates and their marketing way of doing things
Mhm.
and processes step by step, very regimented, and with the automation aspect fueling even more of that. Templates, I'm seeing like tons of templates being published on LinkedIn and all sorts
Mhm.
of different places sharing specific models and kind of boxes to fill out for brand strategy.
Right.
And so there's that kind of camp. And
Mhm.
then there's another camp of more creative, kind of off the cuff brand strategy and brand activation that feels almost like flash in the pan and kind of shock value and wanting to do things to surprise people.
Right.
And, I think there was like an article recently about just like bonkers food collaborations and like the wackier the better and all this like shock value stuff people are trying to do
Mhm.
just to, grab
Get
attention.
attention.
Exactly. And so there's either highly, highly predictable, highly regimented, or chaos. And
Right.
I'm trying to figure out, I see, of course, the thinking and the value behind both approaches, but
Right.
craving is a little more of like an intentional middle ground where you have a pretty kind of focused brand foundation and strategy. And how can you stay really true to that without getting this shiny object syndrome, but also without getting boring.
Right. This is a huge issue, not only because of the AI of it all,
Mhm.
which I think is a great movie name as well, the AI of it all, but because it's a perennial issue for any brand. Any brand needs to do those two things. It needs to be consistent over time, so it's recognizable, it's familiar, it's findable,
Mhm.
and it also needs to be fresh and interesting and provide a little bit of surprise, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And you are exactly right that usually you find brands, and by brands we mean
yes, yes.
people running brands that fall on one side of the aisle or the other. One side where the people running brands make it very, very consistent to the point that it is boring AF
Mhm.
and dull AF, or it's chaos and it's fun and it's flashes in the pan.
Yep.
So, for example, boring and consistent might be something like UPS. And at the same time, maybe that's okay for some brands
Yeah.
because they don't need to do a lot of razzmatazz.
Mhm.
They can be a fairly boring and consistent brand if it works for the business. On the other hand, you see brands that do really crazy, interesting, wild things. KFC recently, Kentucky Fried Chicken, has become much more of a fan of doing interesting, weird, wild things.
Yep.
But even there, and this is where there's a funny combo of these things. You're right, there needs to be a balance and a link. The brands that do the wildness and the weirdness, they kind of need to do it in a certain way and become known for it in a certain way.
Yep.
So KFC, for instance, has new people play the Colonel. And every time a new actor comes in, like Rob Lowe, or did Kristen Wiig do the Colonel at some point? I'm trying to remember who else. They've had all kinds of people play the Colonel.
Yeah.
And every time they do, Norm, uh, not Norm,
McDonald. Yeah.
Norm Macdonald, yep, he
Mhm.
played the Colonel.
Mhm.
It brings something different and something weird and something new, but we are all now somewhat familiar with this concept, so we look for the new in that familiar.
Mhm.
Another example I'm a huge fan of, Cards Against Humanity, a
Yes.
shitty game for shitty people, does famously irreverent and antisocial Black Friday stunts.
Mhm.
The first time because they are against humanity and they hate consumerism. It was just a game built out of some friends thinking that they should do an antisocial version of Apples to Apples. The first one ever was, I don't know if you remember, they just jacked the price $5. Happy Black Friday.
Yeah.
Formerly $25, now 30.
Yes.
And then from then it's become a tradition that Cards Against Humanity does a Black Friday stunt, but each one is different and new.
Mhm.
So in this weird way, you have, hit the problem right on the head, which is if you're too similar all the time, you're boring and
Yeah.
stale. And if you're too different all the time, you're chaotic and no one knows what to expect from you next. And so long, long ago, Raymond Loewy, who's a big engineering designer, I think he even designed Amtrak trains and a bunch of famous logos. He said, you got to make the new familiar and you got to make the familiar new.
Mhm.
And Josie, I'll bet you see this in the long-term brands,
Yeah.
the most long-lived brands that are still fresh today, like Coca-Cola
Mhm.
or Starbucks, where there's dogged consistency, but they're also refreshing things over the years, updating things, tweaking things, and then, of course, bringing fun and novelty within that frame.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just looking at Oreo recently, and they're doing an awesome job with this. Like, they've done a bunch of collabs recently. They just did one with Selena Gomez, and it was like this really cool looking cookie that's
Ooh, I
like
didn't see
branded with
that.
her.
What
And they
was it?
also
Wait, what
did
was the
one.
Selena Gomez cookie?
Oh, it was like, I'll show it to you.
I saw the Lady Gaga one that was pink and orange. No, pink and
No, it's
green.
like a churro flavor, I think.
Ooh,
It's chocolate and cinnamon cream, and it's like it's got really cool, almost like burgundy, kind of like wine-colored
huh.
packaging,
Okay.
and it's got her, like, signature, like, abbreviations on
Her
it.
stamp or her logo or her
Yeah, yeah,
initials. Yeah.
yeah, and
Wow.
it's super cool, and then they also just did one with Post Malone,
Oh,
too. There's like a Post Malone salted caramel shortbread flavor.
okay. And they did the Star Wars light side and dark side.
Yep,
You know
yep,
what?
but they're just like they're doing things
Yeah.
that are interesting, but they're also staying very true to, like, of course, the format of the Oreo, the cookie, and the cream, and,
Yes.
they're fun,
Yes.
kind
It's
of
a oh,
wholesome
you nailed
brand.
it, Josie. That's a great example of a brand that has nailed the balance between consistency and novelty.
Yeah,
And with AI, of course, you could go crazy with the novelty, but you need the consistency.
yeah,
It always needs to look like an Oreo. Maybe it's always the exact same shape. You know, they
mhm,
never what are the things that you keep the same and what are the things that you vary?
yeah,
And in this case, it's always recognizably an Oreo, but then there are all these variants and variations that are really fun and interesting.
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah,
A great secret fact about all of those collabs and all of those great new Oreo in and outs, as they're called in retail or special editions,
yep,
is they definitely generate news, but they also do a tremendous job at selling classic Oreo and classic double stuffed because people will see that end cap at the store and go, "Oh, a Selena Gomez Oreo that's churro. Weird, but, I haven't had Oreos in forever. I'll just go get some Oreos."
yeah,
Or the store runs out of the Selena Gomez churro Oreo, and then they restock that end cap or that display with double stuff or with basic because that's what sells. So
yep,
it's a great even in the sales, there's that great combination of the novelty and the interestingness and the excitement and then the classics
yeah.
and the consistency.
Yeah, it's interesting because
Yeah.
there's a lot in food, especially right now, like in CPG in general,
Mhm.
around these, like, just drops and a drop-driven strategy,
Right.
for, I think, exactly the reason you mentioned. One thing I've been thinking about a lot is, like, for brands that aren't in CPG or aren't set up from an operational standpoint to be able to,
Mhm.
like, innovate that much
So
is
non-consumer packaged goods, CPG, consumer
yeah.
packaged goods, groceries, basically.
Or, even like retail really,
Uh-huh.
where you have like more of a tangible product that you can be innovating. But like think about for, I don't know, like healthcare or nonprofit or other brands like that where they don't have necessarily a tangible good.
Mhm.
What are ways that they can go in this similar, almost blended model of staying fresh and interesting while also staying consistent?
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you're maybe something like UPS where it is very functional and it doesn't really require that excitement because you don't have major challengers. Although I don't know what the DHL, FedEx, UPS
Yeah.
trifecta looks like these days. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's a hard battle to fight. But aside from those kinds of companies, and especially if you are looking at consumer goods, you do want that balance of interestingness and then consistency and stability.
Yeah.
And everyone can do it differently. Sephora, the, um, beauty makeup retailer, famously has doggedly consistent retail look and feel.
Mhm.
In fact, I did a thing where I took, like, a Google image search of Sephora stores, and then I changed the name of all of them. I photoshopped it. Instead of saying Sephora, it just said store. But everybody knew instantly what brand it was because of the black and white stripes.
Right.
And then a little bit of red, splashes of red because it's makeup, but the black and white horizontal stripes of the store are
Mhm.
doggedly consistent. And then within Sephora, they find ways to be exciting, usually by bringing in a new makeup line or a new celebrity,
Yep.
or a new seasonal display of some sort. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that first of all, you nailed it. People are either on one side or the other and too far.
Mhm.
And then for AI, it sounds like your question is also, how's AI gonna make it worse? For
Yeah,
either side, for either camp.
on both sides, right? Because
Yeah.
it can templatize, the crap out of something
Mhm.
and, you know, make every brand start to feel the same because the output is so robotic
Yes.
and general and generic and, or on the other side, it can spit out super random flash in the pan things that might get you attention, but not necessarily in a way that feels intentional or like it's going to
Yep.
draw any big associations for your brand.
Yes, it's true. AI can go either way and can be used for either of those purposes, and I think maybe it's gonna be like when graphic design became much more common and popular, and not even Canva, even just when Photoshop became much more available and software like that, we saw a huge boom in the beautiful design of store brands. Target mostly as a great example, where all of the store brands for Target, Good and Gather, or I don't even remember the other ones. Up and Up was their actual Target brand, but they had a bunch of pseudo brands
Yeah.
that you couldn't really tell were quite Target brands. Goodfellow, I think, was a
Yep.
men's clothing brand, and they suddenly were able to make store brands look really beautiful and on par with some of the trendier, hip consumer brands as well. But you could also use those design tools to make things look terrible and bland and boring. So
Yeah.
you could see that proliferation, which brings us back to it's not the companies, it's not the tools, it's the people. Who are the people
Yes.
helming it? And are those people really into bland, boring stuff, or are those people really into chaos? And how do you guide them? And for anyone listening who's running a company or running a brand, how do you create the consistent elements? And then how do you find the novelty and the interestingness within that consistency?
Yep.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
Oreo is a great example. I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah. Another one I love, also a cookie, Crumble. They're
Mm.
amazing. Oh, Crumble cookie. Okay, they're like growing like crazy right now. They have a bunch of retail locations, but their big business is in delivery and they
Okay,
deliver cookies. It's
okay.
literally just a fresh baked, like pretty sizably big cookie. And they have
Oh,
some flavors that are like tried and true, amazing, delicious, all the ones you can think of. But then they
okay.
also have like constant new innovation cookies. And it's like their
Mm,
calendar is insane. Where I think,
okay.
I don't know if it's weekly, it's certainly more than monthly, but they'll come out with like these crazy flavors. And so if you're, you know, getting regular deliveries of your cookie and they're like open till 2 a.m. So you
I
can
love that.
imagine,
I yeah, I need cookies delivered stat.
but also like, you're like 3 p.m. slump at work, you get your crumble cookie delivery for
Yeah,
the meeting or whatever. But yeah, they have like the constant innovation of these new flavors as well that keep you kind of going back like, oh, I've got to try the crazy churro snickerdoodle one
yes.
that is this week or
Oh,
whatever.
that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. I was thinking, N it's not just consumer brands that can use this mix of novelty and stability, but I'm a B2B brand, you're a B2B brand,
Yep.
and one of the things I've done, I have this character, the Frelk, which
Yes.
you can actually see around this frame right here, but I have it on my mug right here as well, the
Nice.
frog with elk antlers, there we go. Um, and when I do workshops and when I do work with clients, I often do a variant of the Frelk in their thing. So I worked with a soap company. I made a Frelk out of soap using AI. When I worked with a candy company, I made a gummy candy, like the ones that are kind of sugar coated and powdery sugar coated,
Huh?
a gummy out of Frelk with AI. Um, I know it's Colorado and gummies mean a totally different thing in Colorado, but It was a variation, it was a novelty, it was an interestingness that I did within the framework of the Frelk, which
Yeah.
is my logo. So I can do a variation of my logo every time. But that helps because even for B2B, you still need to be remembered. You still need to be chosen over all of the other companies that do the same thing that you do. You still
Mhm.
need your clients to think of you weeks or maybe months later and say, "Oh, yeah, I need to call Josie because she would be perfect for this project."
Yeah.
So even for B2B companies or even for especially for long purchase cycle companies and industries, it behooves us to do things that are both stable and also interesting and novel and bring in that mix.
Love it. Yeah. Okay, here's a category that I'm kind of stumped at now as
Uh-huh.
we're talking about this, because you said the long life cycle, like a car company.
Mm,
I think about like how
yes.
can they stay interesting when it's like I think it's an average of every 7 years someone buys a car.
Right.
Like how do they stay interesting while also staying consistent and not boring?
Yep.
And I'm thinking about like beyond commercials, like
Right.
what what
They can certainly update and refresh some of their look and feel. We've seen a lot of companies do
Mhm.
slight updates, which I think is smart, you know? You don't wanna look like you're still a company from the '80s.
Right.
But then they
Unless you
can do events that are interesting and entertaining.
Mhm.
They can certainly do things at the dealerships, although that doesn't capture people's attention who are not in market to buy, which is most of us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they need to get in front of us, and ads are a pretty safe and secure way to do that. Costs a arm and a leg, but then
Mhm.
you know for sure you're probably gonna get in front of some people who are not in market to buy, and, yeah, do something a little interesting.
Yeah.
I think, sale events are maybe their attempt at that, but they're not very interesting.
Yeah.
Super
Yeah.
Bowl ads
Yep.
Super Bowl ads are a classic way for car companies to try and be interesting and different.
Mhm.
Um, but you're right, they need to find that balance of, "I'm still Toyota,
Yeah.
but I'm doing something interesting enough to make you notice me and think of me, and maybe the next time you buy a car, you'll keep Toyota in your consideration set."
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
Make the new familiar, make the familiar new.
Yeah.
AI is just a tool, and it can be used for good or evil. And if
Yes.
you lean too far on one side, then you've gotta find a way to balance yourself so that you find that nice middle ground of being consistent, but also doing stuff that's novel and interesting and new.
And I would argue, I mean, I know we're both very biased here, but I think brand strategy is the answer to that, right? At the end of the day, where it's like the brand strategy is kind of
Yeah,
identifying what are the consistent elements,
right.
not just of the branding, but like what you stand for, the associations you want people to have, all that stuff. And
Yes,
then, um, once you have that really crystal clear, then yeah, you can bake that into your prompts for AI when
yes.
you're looking to innovate and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what's consistent and you know what's flexible because you have a strategy for your brand.
Right. Yeah.
Paging listeners, if you need help, call Josie Ellerbee. She is available for hire, and she's a fantastic brand strategist.
Thanks, Ethan. Call Ethan too.
Josie, I will make sure to put all of your info in the notes for the episode so people can actually reach out to you.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. You're the best.
Great talking with you.
You too. This was awesome. Thanks for having me.
I hope it was helpful.
Yeah, I hope so too for the listeners. Yeah.
All right. Cheers.
Awesome. Thank you.
Do you want to improve the performance of your brand without breaking the bank? Bring it into the shop, and we'll do a reasonably priced and very quick brand tune-up. We'll run some diagnostics, make some quick fixes, and then give you some recommendations for bigger improvements you can make down the road. Also, if you got something out of this episode, think of one person who might also get something out of it and send it to them as a way of saying, "Hey, thinking of you."